Okay, welcome back, my YouTube crew. We're going to do a real quick one today. Last week I started this one, and we got off to a really bad start, so I think I'm going to just go ahead and create a new world. We're going to call this, I don't know, try two, take two. Yes, so take two. Sounds like a Pokemon. I have a very limited sense of humor, and I apologize. So what we're going to do today is go into world options. We're going to turn cheats on, and I'm just doing that because I'm not that familiar with 1.13. We're just getting started in it. We're still learning the ins and outs of it. And since I'm not actually a very good Minecraft player, I just want to have that as a safety net. And from there, we'll go ahead and just generate a random world with all the rest as default settings. Pardon me, give that a moment. Got my giant tin cup here to make sure you can hear when I actually take a drink. Alright, ooh, llama, llama, llama. Are llamas new to 1.13? I'll have to check that out. I don't recall llamas before. Got a big tree here that I spawned right next to. Let's see if we can get all up in that junk. Oh yeah, easily. And take this tree down from the top. That looks like a spruce. That's a good tree. I suppose I can tell by the leaves anyway. Let's start generating some saplings. Definitely want saplings. And like I said, this is going to be a real quick play. Got off to a bad start last week. Like I said, I'm not a really good YouTuber. I'm not a really good Minecraft player. I mean, I'm not a good of the other thing either. I'm just starting out, figuring out how I'm doing all of this. So, right now what I want is saplings. And the reason I want saplings is because I really like spruce as a wood. I want to make sure that I keep having plenty of it. Alright. Generated several saplings. Now normally I can let these things decay and get saplings that way, but it seems like, and I may be completely insane on this, but it seems as though the 1.13 update has kind of reduced the number of saplings that are dropped from leaf decay. And if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below. I need correction quite a bit. I would make a comment about correctional facility, but ... Okay, pick up this last one. Let's check out what biome we're actually in right now. We are in mountains. Llama, llama, llama. Right. That was an accident. Did that just spit at me? Oh. That llama totally did just spit at me. Okay. Pardon me, that was my phone. And again, I'm still learning how to do this stuff, so yeah, did not mute my phone before starting this recording. Let's go ahead and give me just a moment to mute my phone. What in the world was that sound? Was that the llama again? Oh, and we've got some snow right there. Awesome. And I turned off my Wi-Fi calling instead of turning off my volume. There we go. Let's continue. Got plenty of llamas here. Oh, got some sheepies here. You know what sheepies are for. Let's throw down a stick. Let's throw down a couple of planks. And let's get ourselves a sheep stick. Stick. I said stick. Okay, 1, 2, Wait a minute. Oh, it was a different color. Got it. Golly. Okay. So, we've got our 3 pieces of wool. Let's pick up my box. Probably not with my sword. If I recall, that reduces the durability. And let's find a nice place to start out. I'd like to go up high. And I have a habit of building up high, and I understand that that is a terrible noob habit. Haddock? Okay. Yes, it's a horrible noob fish. So we're going to go here just to look around, and I'm going to try not to build up here. But take a gander at the landscape. Oh, awesome. So we've got a birch forest over there. That'll be great to burn down. I don't really hate birch. I just would rather have other wood there. Got a nice high top there. I wonder if that would be fun to carve down into a monument to my greatness. Oh yeah, oh that's one of the new landscapes. So we could do that. We could plan that into a carve it down into a monument to my ego. What have we got over there? Is that just more birch and oak? And oak and oak. What I'm looking for is dark oak. I really hope there's dark oak nearby. Dark oak over here. Don't see none. But I do have cows. Cows are good. Move you too. Let's get to... I might have to plant a giant spruce up here. Or a couple giant spruces. Actually, that would be a good idea, just to have a landmark around here. More sheep. Oh, good. Got the clucking duck. Weird duck. Yeah. So checking out over here. Ooh, interesting. Got some floating masses. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about that part of the new landscape generation. I kind of like this extreme stuff, though. Not easy for navigation, but it looks incredible. So I'm probably going to end up over in that birch forest. Yeah, I'm going to go over to that. I'm going to go over to that birch forest with my spruce saplings. I wonder if llamas give wool. Don't give him a chance to spit. He spit. No? But I did get leather. Okay. They took a lot of hits. So I've got a mine right here. I guess it's not really a mine. Oh, it might be. Oh, check that junk out. Let's get out of here before we get in trouble. Rock and roll. Alright, let's check out where the sun is. We are on the setting side. Okay, well, let's figure out where we want to go. And those yellow flowers are super bright. I thought that was a fire for a moment, but that's just a yellow flower over there. Nice big flat area there. So I think we're going to end up cutting down most of this birch forest and replanting with spruce and oak. Yeah. Replanting that with spruce and oak. Now since I'm starting over, The reason is because I got a rough start on the last one. I wasn't really satisfied with what was going on and what I was doing. So what I'm going to do now... Oh, more cave. Okay. We will spelunking later. Monkeys. Okay. Saw a light over here, so I jumped down and, yeah, that was a bad idea. Now I can't get out where I was. Running away from critters. Oh, critters. Balls. Jeez. Okay. Let's get out of here. I hate leaving this spruce behind, but that is my own fault. Let's get out of here. Let's punch down a couple of blocks of this to use as, pick it up, to use as planks to make a bed. And we'll use the junk wood for most of this other stuff. Normally, I would have used the junk wood for my sword, but I kind of needed it right then and there. Oof. Oh, got an arrow in my chest. Oh. Oh. Alright, well, this is difficult to control. Okay. It goes the opposite direction of the mouse. I've never actually done this view before. So, now, I'm waving at the camera. Oh, shook the arrow off finally. So now this is my little starting area. I've got a little bitty area here to start out farming for wood, chickens, let's get out of that view, and eggs. So I'll get my wood all out of this birch just for having planks to build with to make most of my tools with. Let's get down here. Alright, so I got a nice little area here. I'm going to need some of your meat. Okay, get the meat out of the clucking ducks. Thank you for popping me out a breakfast meal. And while you're at it, will you please die? Oh, nice. There's a good area here for mining. So this area is relatively flat. I say relatively because I just came from that extreme hill area right there. Mountains. It said it was just mountains, but oh, come on. Those are a little extreme. So this is birch forest, like I thought. We're going to be doing a lot more terraforming. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to have to actually be capping off some of these mines and creating proper entrances. And I'll probably end up building my first cabin, first little survival house. Actually, it would be fun to kind of build into this. Have my first floor about this level, about right here. Now maybe go up a step or two. So my first floor ceiling would then protrude up here. You know, this is much better than the way I did it. Last time I didn't do any of this kind of planning, and I really should have. But there we go. I've got some sheeps here for breeding. Excellent. I thought I was going to be left with just chickens. Neat. Plenty of eggs. So I can build a chicken farm. Oh, I came across a couple of videos about micro farms, and there's a micro chicken farm I want to build. And I think I'm going to try it with sheeps as well. Although I really don't need wool, so maybe not. Maybe I'll just put sheep in a pen and breed them as I need wool. Pardon me, I had to mute it for a moment, sneezing my head off for no reason at all. Okay, so this is great. We're going to be getting started here. Let's get back to our little area. So next thing I need to build, the next thing I need to do is finish taking down this tree. The hanging tree is not fantastic. Now that I have a spawn area, I'll probably go down and take a little risk to pick up some stone and make myself a furnace real quick. There's our sun. And I'm not getting a very fast start off on this one, but I'm not too concerned about it this time because now I have a plan. I have a direction to go that I didn't have before. That was awfully close. Oh, and that reminds me, I got started on that last one, and as I was editing, I noticed, and I should have done this very first thing, I noticed my sound was way off. My master volume was very, very high. So I'm going to cut that down to half of where it was, more or less. Okay. And that was not where I wanted to go with that. And you can see there in my list, I did a couple extra practice worlds just to get a little more a hang of playing Minecraft again. But I'm going to need a pick. I'm going to need a shovel. I'm going to need an axe. Let's get going. Oh, let's give myself a couple of chests. Okay, or just one. One is plenty. And I'm going to put anything in here that I don't need for surviving right now, which is most of this. String. And I want to keep my spruce. Spruce is for building the things I want to build, and birch is for building the things I need to build. Okay, forget it then. Back over here into. This is going to be easy to get into. And yeah, a little bit of terraforming and we're good. Well, fart. And that's why I'm going to take two. I'm not quite used to the reach of the weapons. And the combat hasn't changed. I've got nobody to blame but myself for that one. But it's just getting back into the swing, of having them and remembering how far away I have to be from the bad guys to actually hit them. As I've said before, I've played a lot more modded than I have vanilla, so things like this aren't really different from what I'm used to playing. But I haven't been extremely avid. I've been concentrating on more work-related things, actually getting a job, for one. I lost a shovel. And getting certification so I can be better at the job I have. What I do when I'm not playing Minecraft is actually a couple of different things. The thing I've been doing for the last decade or so is IT work. And I do have a Microsoft certification. I've got the entry, the very first level of Microsoft certification. It's not the most impressive cert to have, but it is a required cert to have before going into higher levels of certification. So I went and got that. Oh, and this is a much easier way into that tunnel. I went and got that last year, so I am Microsoft certified. Any employers out there looking for a Microsoft certified technician. Certified in installing and optimizing Windows 10. And what I actually worked in was installing servers and systems. So that's kind of what I've been doing for the last few years, half a decade or so. But what my degree is in animation. And the reason I got interested in animation in the first place was way, way back in the childhood days of yore. Back when video games were played by candlelight. I was interested in actually making video games, and I still am. That's where my biggest area of interest lies. And that's one of the reasons why I am an artist. I've been doing fine art for 20 years, but I kind of went from art directly into technology, which is an unusual jump when you think about it. But it kind of makes sense. In this case, it really makes sense, because doing the technology part and being good at the technology part goes hand in foot right there with being able to make the art for the video game. So that's kind of where I am now. Now, I'm fortunate that I live in Houston, and Houston is right near, within 2 hours of, 2 or 3 hours of Austin, which is kind of the video game capital, or I shouldn't say the video game capital of the world, but it's definitely the capital where good video games are made. Not a big fan of some of the offerings coming out of other places anyway. I tend to play a lot of free-to-play games. I thought, oh, I don't see the star. Oh, there's the stars. I should be able to. Well, normally if I can see the horizon, I just peek for the moon to pop up, and as soon as the moon has 1 pixel up, you can sleep. But it's harder to gauge it. I can see the colors in the sky changing rapidly, so it should be about now. Oh, monsters are nearby. Fantastic. Oh, you're not the monster. Oh, and I don't have a map. I'm so used to playing this with a mod that has a map built into it, so I can actually see where the monsters are. So let's go ahead and pick this up and move it, because I don't actually have a monster that nearby. What did I do? Holy cow, I am just incompetent. Okay. But, as I was saying, being this close to Austin also means that there's a lot of video game companies here in Houston. So I went and I got a degree in animation in order to make video games. And then immediately on graduation, well, not immediately, there were a few steps in between, but for the purposes of this story, immediately upon graduation, went into IT instead, thinking it would pay the bills, which it hasn't, but definitely much better than freelance work does. So I've ended up doing a lot of freelance work and trying to get into doing video games, video game creation, art creation, character design, all the things that you would expect for video games. However, what I've ended up doing is a whole lot of not much. Getting the certifications and everything meant I haven't been concentrating on doing anything that I need to do for, for example, my portfolio. So I do not have a valid portfolio at all, which makes it difficult to get work as an artist when you can't show what you're able to do. And again, it's kind of a frustration level. So my portfolio is about 10 years out of date, because, well, almost 10 years. I got my degree in the middle of, I graduated in the middle of 2009, and then I went into a movie studio doing the storyboards. And the problem with that was the movie that was green-lighted that I was working on ended up having just over $100,000 worth of its budget stolen by the producer. Yeah, so he just grabbed the money and ran out of state, and we haven't heard from him since. But at the time, that meant a whole bunch of people were working busily on a movie, spending a lot of their own time and their own money getting ready to go gear up to filming, and movie ended up not being made. We couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford to pay people. It was a really frustrating place to be in. And since I did that for the first 6 months following graduation, I ended up with, immediately following graduation, having no job history to show in my resume. And because I didn't go into, that was where I had my internship too. So that's the other half of it. I worked at a place that didn't technically exist for the purposes of taxes, as anybody who's worked in movies would know. So I had really nothing to show in my portfolio because it was all owned by the studio. I'm not allowed to use it in my portfolio, and can't really show it as work history because, well, first, there's no work to have a history of. So 6 months making storyboards and a script. Oh, by the way, the writer was changing every day, so I was doing the same scene. For 3 months, I was doing the same scene over and over and over again. And that was frustrating. But storyboard work is actually pretty easy, and it's a skill that can be translated into almost any industry that uses any amount of animation or even camera. So television studio, there are actually movie studios that do their entire script based on the storyboard, like Hayao Miyazaki. Hayao Miyazaki studio is famous for writing their stories. They would actually sit down with a group of writers and Mr. Miyazaki, and he would draw pictures and pin them up on a board, and the writers would then come up with a story to match the pictures he was writing. So that's kind of an extreme example of storyboarding a script. But Disney, ILM, all of those big studios, ILM back when it was still Lucasfilm, they would always do a big storyboard for all of their movies, and especially the episodes 1, 2, and 3. I've watched the DVDs of those behind the scenes many times. And what I get out of those is how these movies are made. I love watching the process of creation and development for those movies. Even though I don't really particularly like the new series of Star Wars. Well, it's not. I guess it's not the new series anymore. You know what I mean? The episodes 1, 2, and 3 aren't typically my favorite. They're not bad, Don't get me wrong there, I'm not one of those snobs that my Star Wars is the best Star Wars and all the other Star Wars is an imposter. Not half as good as what I like. You know, it's sci-fi. I love sci-fi. I always loved sci-fi. But the point is, I loved watching the behind the scenes of them. And during the filming of episodes 1, 2, and 3, in the behind the scenes, what you see a lot of is the storyboards would be pinned up, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, on hundreds of 4x8 foam core boards, just thumbtacked on. And they would be little 3x5 note cards that would have these scenes drawn on them. And George Lucas would go through, George Lucas and I imagine a couple of the other producers and writers would go through with a highlighter and say, you know, this is a practical character, this is a practical effect, and they would highlighter it in one color. And then they would say that this is a special effect, and they would highlighter it in another color. So you'd see these storyboards with all these yellow droids on it and all these blue soldiers sitting on it, and you know, the purple vehicles and some background slates that were made would be a different color, and it was really an incredible job. They did a great job in episodes 1, 2, and 3 of marrying practical effects and special effects. And what I really loved about that, with the exception of in episode 1 when you saw, oh, what's his bucket? Yoda. Y-O-D-A, Yoda. For the first time as a fully CG character. And it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't great. And what they did is they I believe in episode 1, they did a practical effect first. They did a puppet first. And it looked okay in the film, but it still looked like original Yoda, which was, in my mind, that was a good thing. It was nostalgia more than the love of the effect. But it looked good. It looked okay. And then they went through, before the release, the DVD release, and turned him into a special effect as well. Which is, that kind of bothers me a little bit. The remastering of the original Star Wars bothered me a lot. I don't like the way that the effects look. I've never enjoyed the way that CG characters look on the same plate as practical characters. One reason I thought 3CPO was so great in episodes 1, 2, and 3, because they went through and they made him a practical character again, and then they did these bizarre scenes where he's doing these ridiculous things that he can't do, the movements that 3CPO can't make, and they had to do a CG version of him. It looks terrible. But again, I'm ranting and raving and chomping at the bit. Not really what I meant to talk about, because I'm just trying to get the idea out there that I love animation. I really like it a lot. And that's kind of what drew me to it. The love of special effects in movies, the love of video games. In the early 90s, I grew up playing, my first console system was an 8-bit Nintendo back when that was new. And I played all of those video games. As they came out, I'd go out to the Blockbuster, and for your kids, what a Blockbuster was, oh no, I can't even explain that without explaining VHS. So never mind, just ask your parents about Blockbuster. So I would go out there and I would rent the cartridges for the weekend, and I would play the heck out of these games. I would just play them over and over and over again for hours on end until I would beat a level or beat the game. I would just sit down and beat the game. That was my goal. And I would never, I wouldn't stop playing. I wouldn't go to sleep until I could beat the game. So oftentimes I would end up only being able to play games on the weekends. And my dad and I would just sit down and play the death out of those games. We would kill ourselves playing them. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that a lot. But then when it came to PCs, I got into PCs a little bit early as well. My father ended up with a job that I guess today you would call IT, but at the time, IT didn't really exist. The idea of using computers to do drafting was relatively new. And the company that he worked for wanted to get a hold of a handful of computers and start teaching the engineers to use those. So my dad, being the only person in that company at the time that had any experience at all with drafting on computers, because that's what his degree was actually in, mechanical engineering and CAD, and even his professor at college used to tell him that computers are a fad, they'll never catch on. You'll never see these in our real workplace. So, so my dad's degree, he got a degree in something that nobody believed would ever exist, would ever catch on, and here we are in, the 2020s, and well, almost the 2020s, and that's the norm. Nobody would imagine designing something as complex as a transmission on anything other than a computer. I mean, come on, time saving alone is worth the headache. So his job, like I said, you would call it IT. So he ended up working around a lot of computers that were, some were purpose-built for the job, and some of them were kind of similar to what they needed, but not really exactly what they needed. And some of the things, now networks were just getting born. The internet was just coming into its own at the time. So they ended up with a couple of computers that they just couldn't use. So my dad brought one home, and he set it up in the basement, and he would use it to modem into work, which was just such a novel idea. And he could modem in and he could do some things. And so when I was young, when I was real little, well, I wasn't really real little, I was a teenager, but still pretty young. I would get these tasks from him to use the modem on that computer and telephone in to a number, remote in, and do some systems maintenance. And he'd give me this big list of file names and numbers to look up, and they were just things like backing up and cleaning up servers and things like that. I just have these lists of numerically named numbers, because that's what Unix was at the time. Numerically named files, and just clean them all up. Most of the time, what would happen with Unix systems, and I don't know, most people don't have a lot of Unix experience, but when you change a file in Unix, it won't overwrite the old file. It will actually just create an iteration of the file. And boy, am I getting boring. But what would happen a lot of times in those early systems is you'd end up with hundreds of iterations of the same file over and over, and it would fill up networks faster than anything else. So, that was one of the tasks that he would give me, is going in and cleaning up those extra files that just do nothing but fill up space. That's looking much better now. I'm liking that a lot. This is going to give me a good place to start. But that's kind of what got me interested in computers early on, and the first video games. Oh, I remember playing the original Doom. Oh, I had a pirated copy of the original Doom. Well, I can't say pirated copy, that'll get me in trouble. I borrowed it from a friend. It was a friend's copy of Doom, but it wasn't his actual discs, because he didn't want to lend me his actual discs, so he made a backup of his disc, that he loaned me his backup discs, and we totally 100% legitimately and legally and not pirated in any way played Doom. Please don't call the cops. I also played, my dad brought home Wolfenstein 3D. Oh man, that was a kick to play. I loved playing that. Wolfenstein 3D was just groundbreaking at the time. 3D graphics. That was even before Doom. Um, it was 3D graphics, but when you dig into the code, it's not truly 3D graphics. It's like a two-dimensional slate that is then uh, changed based on the parallax of it was some calculation I don't even pretend to understand. One of the reasons I got into art is that I can't do math. Math, not meth. I mean, I could, but I don't. I don't, but I could. Just saying. Um, but that was also, robotics was another place I almost went to. I would have really, truly enjoyed that, but I just cannot do math. So I ended up going the art route. And like I said, early video games really caught my interest, really drew my imagination at the time. The original Doom. Oh my gosh, people do not remember now, but that was back during Columbine. And one of the big accusations of Columbine was that Doom, the game, Doom 2, I think is what they were actually playing, made the kids violent. And one of the reasons they used that as proof that Doom video games were making kids violent was Carmageddon was one of the big ones that had just come out. You get points based on hitting pedestrians. But they forget that Hunter's Revenge or Revenge Hunter, I can't remember what it was, also came out at the same time. And it was based on the exploits of a deer that would hunt hunters. So, yeah, I mean, nobody who was playing those games really took them seriously. But one of the things the kids did with Doom 2 was they were able to modify it and create this special mod that looked like their school. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing ever. Well, not when Columbine kids did it, but I had a friend who was doing the same thing. He was creating a modded level that looked like our local mall. and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I played a few Doom and Doom 2 mods, but my friend was actually making those mods, and I saw that and saw how easy the coding was. To go in and just change a couple of the graphics, change the levels. You could make this level in a level editor that was just really, really prehistoric by today's standards. But I mean, that totally caught my attention at the time too. Again, early '90s. I was also working in the studio of an artist who his primary source of income was airbrushing T-shirts. And not like what you'd see at the mall where they would put your name on it and make it look like a balloon and put sparkles on it and a rainbow and a unicorn or whatever. No, he was doing T-shirts that were incredibly elaborate. He would go out to all of the comic book conventions and people would bring him a picture of what they wanted drawn, and it would be like a comic book cover, or it would be a character, or they would even just suggest a character doing something, and he would airbrush that on a shirt. He had this one that was just incredible. A kid brought him a request for Spawn, but he wanted Spawn swinging on the chain all the way around the shirt. And so this guy did a Spawn swinging on a chain that went over one shoulder. The chain went through the back of the shirt and crossed itself a couple times, went over the front. When you flip the shirt over, the chain is completely continuous the entire way. And this guy airbrushed every little link on that shirt. And it just looks totally brilliant. It's an incredible shirt. Spawn on the front of the shirt isn't that big. He's about a hand and a half big. But it's plenty big enough to get a lot of that detail in and make sure the chain had enough small links in it that it would take me hours and hours and hours to go and build each chain on a shirt like that, trying to airbrush it. But he did that in just a couple of minutes, and it looked incredible. And his story of it was he was actually set up across from the Image booth at the time. And this was during the time where Marvel and Disney were just being complete and total I don't even know what you would say, tyrants about their properties, which, as an artist, yes, I can understand, I empathize with, I even agree with. But when a guy wants a fan work, you can't sue fan fiction, frankly. You just can't sue fan fiction. And in my mind, those airbrush t-shirts were a type of fan fiction. So it was kind of frustrating to be in a situation around all of that where, you know, you could make these t-shirts were like 80 to $100, right? So they weren't cheap, they weren't easy to make, but they were in effect a type of fan fiction. But they weren't like we were making these fan fictions and then selling them. They were requested by fans, and that was one of the cool things is Image really understood that. And that was one of the reasons why Image was founded in the first place, was Marvel and DC were being highly tyrannical towards their artists about the ownership of some of these characters. And I believe, if memory serves, that it was actually Eric Leafield who was manning the booth at the time across from the artist who was my mentor. And he came over and he saw that Spawn shirt up on the easel as he was painting it. And my mentor just kind of froze up like, oh no, I'm gonna get slapped with a lawsuit. I'm gonna get slapped with a cease and desist. I'm gonna have to leave the con. And Leafield came over and said, that's an awesome shirt. I want to sign it for you. So my mentor, whose name was Rob, by the way. So Rob ended up letting Leafield sign the shirt, and then he kept the shirt. He kept the shirt for himself and made a second Spawn shirt. Yeah, that was, frankly, every bit as incredible, because now he had practice making that shirt. And he gave that to the client. The client paid him like $100 for the shirt. Could you imagine the client paying $100 for a custom airbrush t-shirt, and then end up getting one with like the original creator's name on it? I mean, that would just blow their mind. But so that's kind of my background. That's where I come from. I love art. I love the art of creation. I would love to be able to do more art. I just haven't done much art in the last few years because of, getting into technology, getting into IT, and making that my priority, which I suppose isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do kind of regret, based on the fact that I'm actually kind of a little sloppy now. I'm a little lazy on my art habits, and I'm trying to get back in, and you'll see those come up on my channel. I'm going to start doing art, because what I really want to get into is making video games. But I just don't have a portfolio right now, and you cannot get a job in art without a portfolio. Nobody's going to look at a resume that says, I have Photoshop experience, and go, oh, let's give him a job creating character designs. It just doesn't work out that way. So I'm kind of in the frustrating in-between space where, as I was saying at the very beginning, I'm glad I'm in Houston. I'm close enough to the center of the gaming industry that there's a lot of it around here. There are quite a few. 6 Foot has a headquarters right downtown. I just found out about that. So 6 Foot has a headquarters here. I've been trying to get in with them for years, but again, I just don't have a portfolio to show. There's a couple other video game industry jobs that I've been trying to get into that I'm just going to have to say, start applying for intern jobs. Even though I've been out of school for 10 years, just apply for like internships and stuff. Yeah, I'll work for free. Feed me cookies and I will work. Oh, okay, I said that as a joke, but it's true. I will. Oh, I am such a loser. But I started playing Minecraft back in 2009. And I did not realize at the time how new it was. I thought it had been around for many years at the time. It was just getting into its popularity. It had that one of those overnight success stories where overnight success stories take years to do, and that's kind of what I thought about it. And I'm finding out that that's more or less true now, but it was kind of more along the lines, as I recall the story. I'm not a Minecraft historian, not a Minecraft expert, but pigs. But as I understand it, he had been developing the game as sort of a hobby for a long time, and then decided to market it, decided to sell it, and it kind of did spring up as an overnight success as a result. So I'm going to grab some coal, I'm going to grab a chicken, and I'm going to find a way to feed my face. I'm starting to get into the hunger. I'm actually surprised my hunger's not lower right now. Pigs must die. Thank you. And stick that back in the toolbox. Anyway, yeah, I played Minecraft very avidly when it first came out, and then I started getting into the mods. I actually put it down for a couple of years because after graduating school, I went out west. And I started working with that movie studio, with not the results I was looking for. That was really the first shot that I did for myself right there, was getting an internship with a studio that was basically formed to create one movie. Their entire existence, even their business, their marketing plan, their business plan, their business plan basically said they existed just to make this one movie, and that was kind of a mistake getting involved with. I enjoyed it tremendously, and frankly, I wouldn't give up that experience for anything. I'm glad I had that experience. But that experience, even though it made me who I am, that experience did have consequences, and those consequences are kind of important to forming my idea of work, my work ethic. They're kind of integral to defining me. So while I'm glad I had those experiences, I kind of do wish I'd gone a different route. I regret them, but I would not give them up. And that's kind of a weird thing to say. A lot of people would not say something like that. But it's definitely true. I wouldn't give it up, but I do regret it. So I need another axe. I need another shovel. Right on. And I think what I'm going to do, my last video that I filmed actually ended up with very bad audio, and I've been trying to fix that for a few days, and I just don't have the software to do it. So I'm just now deciding, since I haven't posted that last video up on YouTube, that I'm not going to. I'm going to make this my first video, and I might put those videos up later, but they're not in this world. They're actually in a different world. And I didn't have a great start to it. I did not have a fantastic start to it. And not that I've had a fantastic start to this too. I'm sure by this time, many of the top Minecraft YouTubers would already have their diamonds pulled out of a mine, and I'm still busily landscaping up here. So I'm not the best at this, and I've kind of been away from it for a few years. And like I said, I was more interested in the mods for a while. So I've got some stone here. Can I make a pick out of andesite? Let's find out. Make sure I have enough sticks. No, I cannot. It has to be cobblestone. So let's go back and pick up some cobblestone. Okay. Oh man, my sword's actually almost dead too. Have I been using that to weed again? I have these horrible habits that I need to correct if I'm going to get any good at doing Minecraft on YouTube. Okay, so there we go. Got the pick, and we're getting dim again, so I'm going to wait for one more day-night cycle here. Ooh, got some iron right here at the beginning. There's 3 ingots. That is my iron pick taken care of. Oops. Gotta get this timing back down too. Started playing a Roblox mining simulator, an attempt at making Minecraft in Roblox. And the mining rhythm is very different from Minecraft, and it's kind of messed me up a little bit. But started playing that with my niece. So she's kind of moved on to greener grounds in Roblox, so I've left her to her own devices. She's also threatened to start her own YouTube channel, and if I showed up while she's playing that, she would hate me forever. Okay, so I'm going to get that smelting. Come back here, we're going to pick up some more stone. And actually the day-night cycle just finished. I just put some iron in my furnace. Let's go ahead and replace my sword while I'm thinking of it. There we go. Backup emergency sword that's going to be completely and utterly worthless. Throw the andesite in the box. And I still can't believe I'm only at 1 hunger. I mean, it was quite a while ago that I died and had to come back. I should be at a higher level of hunger. Or a lower level of hunger. I'm not even sure how that works. But so let me do the thing that everybody does, because I think this is what we're supposed to do. This is RamDragon. My Minecraft name is RamDragon. It'll be in the description below. Again, that's what we're supposed to say, right? So I'm going to put that in the description below. RamDragon. I can be followed on Twitter as the RamDragon. Welcome to RamDragon Studios. I'm signing off for the night. Good night, guys.